Explicit instruction is you going into the room knowing that you are the change agent. Like, I make this contrast. The deliberate change agent versus the constructivist inquiry facilitator. And when I look at the evidence, it's dramatically different. Now, I have no troubles with constructivism as a form of knowledge. I seriously am concerned about it as a form of teaching. It ain't. In fact, Carl Barata has done a lot of work showing that the most effective way to get kids to construct, to inquire, and to facilitate is to be explicit and to go out there and be a change agent. And so, inquiry, yes, I want that. Collaboration, yes, I want that. But it requires deliberate teaching of it. Sometimes that teaching means you have to stand back and listen. And so I worry about some of the language we use that excuses us from being the deliberate agent in that room. And so, coming to your specific example of teaching to read, like, kids who struggle to read don't learn to read by reading. They learn to read by teaching the skills and strategies of reading. Occasionally I go into classrooms and schools, into library periods, and I see kids who can't read doing library work. Well, what an incredible way for them to learn why reading is horrible. It does require explicit instruction. Like, one of my recent, in fact, piece of work we've just finished is a kind of meta-analysis. It's a kind of meta-analysis on the Matthew effect. That kids who get reading early on progress, kids who don't get reading on, the rich get rich and the poor get poorer. And that's actually not quite true. But what we certainly showed is that the rich do get rich and the poor stay poorer. And so I am a great fan of second chance programs. Now, maybe not surprise you, given I lived at the University of Auckland for 12 years and Mari Clay was my friend and colleague before she passed away. I'm a great fan of reading recovery. Not because reading recovery is good by itself, but it is a deliberate second chance program. Like, when I did my work in North Carolina comparing other second chance programs, I insisted on seeing what happened in the regular classroom. By about year 2, teachers have stopped teaching the skills of reading. In fact, sometimes they're very good at helping kids who can't read do the work without requiring them to read because they can't. So they perpetuate the problem. Reading requires deliberate skills. And yes, it's the phonics. Yes, it's the awareness. Yes, it's the rhythm, sound. And I spoke to Mari about this and said, what do you think of all this phonemic awareness and this stuff? And she said, it's simple. It's learning to listen. And that's a very powerful thing we have to do in teaching to read, to listen to that sound, to make the connection between that sound and that word. And that's a deliberate skill. So I make no bones that teaching is a deliberate action. And what I certainly find is that teachers who go into a classroom knowing they are the change agents are more likely to succeed than those who go in and think they are the guide by the side.